Next week, we've got the World Rally Championship, and this is a safari rally from, let's say, shakedown on the 19th. But also, besides that, there are going to be, new stages. The rally is longer and just about 384 kilometers or so. And so we are going to be having, the Toyota World Rally team coming to defend their title. Well, we're going also to be having, seeing Hyundai with their Charge and M Sport Ford. And this is where we start this quick interview. And we've been granted a few minutes. It's some time by the boss of the M Sport World Rally team, Richard Milliner. And he's speaking to us from the UK. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. And thank you for joining us. And because I know it's all about this. First, thing I would like to, talk about was you had quite a 2024 season that seems to have breakthroughs. Adrian Fomo giving us some real form, Gregor growing, and also Martin Sesks as a revelation for you. But 4 more left. But how can you summarize 2024 for Ford?
Yeah, I think it was a really positive year. Actually, we probably achieved maybe more than we expected. We hoped for maybe 1 or 2 podiums. So to gain a podium on your rally in the Safari Rally so early in the season was really exciting. And also in the previous rally in Sweden, which sadly I missed due to my son being born. So I got to celebrate my first podium with Adrian in Safari, which was a magical moment. And then carried on to get 2 more later in the year. So it was a really, really strong year for Adrian. I think he grew into the character and the driver that we knew he could be. Whereas at the same time, we had Gregor improving with every stage. It was a very tough first year for him. It always is very difficult in these Rally 1 cars in the first year of competition. But we also had some really fantastic moments with people like Martins, like you mentioned, in Poland, Latvia. That was incredible to see him fighting with the top guys on his debut in the car. Was really special and exciting. And it was a really tough moment to see that podium slip away from him in his home event in Latvia. But the 2 performances there gained him enough interest and potential showing of speed to gain 6 rallies with us this year. So all in all, it was a very positive year for M Sport. And, we're looking forward already to coming back to Kenya next week to the event where there is a good possibility of getting another result this year.
Well, Richard, very interesting. I hope you'll be at the place known as Mitimbili, and we hope to see, somebody throw a car that weighs 1,200 kilos and land on only one wheel. Quite interesting it was. But the sign as this year, you brought in Joshua McIllen. He was in the WRC too, and this was a surprise signing for yours for M Sports, but because he came in with something that some extra support for the team. Just give us a background of it.
Yeah, so obviously Adrian's decision to leave was quite late on in the season, so we had to do quite a lot of work very quickly to find some replacements. And there was a lot of discussion about using more experienced guys that have been in WRC for a long time. But ultimately, that's not really the way M Sport likes to operate and has operated in the past. We are very much a team about developing new and younger talent. And we had a relationship with the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy, which is a private academy funded by a guy called John Coyne, who is doing a lot for Irish rallying. And we've been speaking for a long time about some possibilities of Josh doing a couple of rallies this year in the Rally 1 car. But when the situation changed, we managed to come to maybe an unexpected agreement at the time to give Josh a full season in the car and an opportunity to test himself in the highest level. It was, I think, a surprise to him. I don't think he found out until after Rally Japan, so he wasn't really expecting this news. But he's been in WRC2 for a long time. He's had some very good results there and shown some speed. But actually what he's done in Monte Carlo and Sweden this year has been really impressive. And I think he's kind of outshone all expectations from maybe what even we thought. So it's been a really strong start. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of interesting things about him. And we want to give the help to another youngster coming on and hopefully give them a springboard to a longer career. And that's the way that M Sports works a lot of the time. So it's been a very good start, but it will be a complicated and difficult season, I'm sure. Not every rally can be straightforward. So we'll continue to work with him and see how it goes. And then we'll have to, keep going and see how we get on.
Okay. Well, let's talk about, the other members of the team. As usual, good old Jordan always coming through as a privateer for several of the rallies. And where do you see Martin Cesc, coming through to work with Ford after all, showing a lot of promise in the Rally 1 cars last year?
With Jordan, sorry?
Yes. Jordan's coming. We've seen Jordan is coming to the Safari. He's part of the privateers that you're working with M Sport, and probably could we see more of Martin's, involvement later in the 2025 season?
Yeah, so Jordan loves Safari Rally because it's a great challenge, very exciting challenge. So he will be back to see if he can better his best result of 5th there. But Martins has a 6-event program with us. So he started in Sweden. His next event will be Portugal. Sadly, the funding wasn't quite enough to be able to bring us to the events outside of Europe. But I do hope he can come over to Safari at some point soon. We're looking forward to seeing what he can do in the run of events that he's got. I think the expectation from our side is very different this year. We don't expect him to be trying to chase a podium like he did last year. We want to see continual steady improvement, and we saw that in Sweden. He's done a couple of different rallies with the Rally 2 car. He was in Portugal this weekend. Sadly, there was a technical fault, but he was beating Chris Meek at that point and leading the rally overall. So again, showing his pace, and that was some good mileage in the car in the next event he'll be doing on very similar stages. So I do think he has a good chance, but I think the combination of all 3 of our younger drivers together is a very good lineup. And we're not there actively saying we're going to beat the other teams because they have incredibly strong drivers. But what we are there to do is just do the best we can, and hopefully we can get in their way and score some good positions by being close enough to the fight that if they have any issues or problems, then we can capitalise, and that's how we're going to get potentially a podium at some point this year. I think it will be a stretch, but if you have to believe in it, and if you do, then it could well be possible.
Well, let's talk about the cars. Technical regulations changed the hybrids out, and how are you seeing the non-hybrid car now working the Ford Puma spec you have for 2025?
I think it's taken a step backwards in terms of its technicalities. It's a lot more simple now without the hybrid system. There's no big tooling system on the back of the hybrid unit. So it's a lot easier to drive, I would say, for the top guys, which I think has helped Josh, and that's helped him to get up to speed quicker. There's a little bit of differences to get used to. Obviously, without the hybrid, when we go to places at higher altitude, this will make a bigger difference. When you are looking for low down power, you'll tend to lose it a little bit because it's where the hybrid was sometimes filling in. So some small changes, but it's made the car maybe more accessible for others. And I think the speed and the performance of the show is still there. So they're incredibly exciting to watch. These are the top level of car that exist, and still incredible pieces of machinery. But in general terms, it kind of made our lives a little bit easier for the team, not having to ship the hybrid units around the world, etc. But in some ways, it was a shame. I think hybrid technology is very relevant in the current world. Battery electric vehicles have slowed in terms of sales, and hybrid has probably increased. So we had a technology that was very relevant, but sadly, in motorsport, the technology is tested to the absolute limit, and after some revised safety regulations from the manufacturer, it made it very uneconomically viable, and we had no real option but to remove the system because it was just too expensive. So I hope that we will go back to some alternative forms of technology and alternative forms of propulsion as we go forward with new regulations in 2027 onwards. But for now, we still have an incredible show and the great cars to look and watch.
Thank you very much, Richard Miller. He's the team principal of the M Sport World Rally team. Thank you for joining us, and Karibu Kenya.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you next week.
All right. We'll be seeing you next week. Yes, Richard Miller, talking about his team, the M Sport World Rally team. And remember, next week, it's a WRC Safari Rally.